Good morning, everybody. This is Richard back at you. We got Miss Teresa on the camera this morning. We got little Annie over here hanging out, like always. King of the shop right there, let me tell you. Well, we got Hayden's dragster in here. Or excuse me, I don't know what we got two grandbabies running dragsters, but this is Peyton's dragster here. Really fast car, but what I'm doing is we're kind of scaling it, trying to see where the weight is, where we can add some weight, try to make the car perform a lot better. I got a screen over here we'll get you to look at and kind of give you an idea of what we got going on here. We got scales under each tire to tell us exactly what's going on. If you look at this computer screen here, the driver's side front tire weighs 30 pounds. The passenger side front tire weighs 45. Left rear 97, right rear 84. Total weight's 256 pounds. Okay. If you look here, we got 55% rear weight, 46% front weight. And we got a cross of 142 pounds. In other words, from one corner to the other corner. Now, when Peyton actually gets in the car weighs like 420 pounds, 418 pounds, something like that. I don't remember right off the bat. Don't want to say too much. But you know how young ladies are when it comes to everything. But anyway, but then we put her in the car, and then we rescale it, and then we add weight wherever we want it to be at, and make the car work a lot better that way. But it's pretty cool to have these cars in the family, to go out and play every weekend with the grandbabies and stuff. They really enjoy it. These cars are really fast.
And she killed it this year.
She did really good job this year. Definitely. Teresa's got a little cold this morning, so she's kind of got the sniffles. We didn't want to put her mic on because she was just going to be sniffling through it the whole time. So we kind of left her mic off. But got the instant clean machine all warmed up, ready to go. Now we got Dale's. This is a 9 of 15. You would think being a 9 of 15 would be a 2016 model, but it's not. I put it in the computer and it kicked it out saying that it's a 15, even though it's a 9th month. That's kind of crazy there. He really wasn't having a whole lot of problems. Got 178,000 miles on it. He just knew it just felt weak, soft, stuff like that. So, but on the way coming here, it actually started having problems on the way here. So high RPM, probably converter lockups trying to go away. There's no telling on these things. They're such a self-learning tranny. They constantly think all the time. So they change shifts, fields, shift patterns. I mean, just everything about them. But what we're going to do, he said that he put a cooler bypass kit in this thing. So what we're going to do, we're going to get in here on this cooler bypass, and we're going to take it apart real quick before we pull off the tranny and see if they installed it correctly. Pretty simple to do on these, though. You can take this little block off and do it on the bench, but I just wanted to leave it on here. Put the old famous on there really quick. See if we can get it to move. There we go. Okay, if you look down in there, he has the ball first. In other words, the ball was on top of the spring. The main thing on these cooler bypasses is the spring's got a big end and it's got a little end. You want to make sure the little end pushes on the ball. And then you have this other piece down in here right there that sets in there and pushes on the spring. Now you also have an O-ring you have to put on here because the O-ring seals this piece down to the case down there. You got 2 O-rings here. Stick it down in there just like that. So we did put one in there. They did put it correctly in there so we don't have to charge him for another one. I don't see these wearing out unless the spring breaks or something like that in there. So pretty simple installation there. It's a good thing to do at home in the driveway. You can just take your 10mm bolt here loose, pull your lines out. Each line will have an O-ring on it. Here's one O-ring that stayed. The overhaul kit should have those O-rings in there though, that goes on the lines. Pull your 2 lines off, put your 2 O-rings on there, take this off, put it on the bench, clean it up, and then put your kit in there. And then the seals that go right here, normally you will never mess those up. You can just leave them on there. They'll stick to the side of the tranny like this one did. And when you put it back in there, they still seal really well. I've never seen them really leak in there. So you don't really have to probably buy a seal for right here. Okay, so pretty simple. There you go. Now there's 2 seals in here too. When we rebuild the tranny, we'll put a new pump and bell housing assembly on here, and then we'll put these 2 seals in here. Then you have an extra seal here, kind of double seals it where it can't leak. Pretty simple. Now being that this is a 4-wheel drive, you have an adapter that adapts it to the transfer case. Don't really ever see any issues with these breaking or anything like that. So don't have to worry about that as much. Now if you do have a 2-wheel drive that has a tail housing and a bushing, this seal right here will be left out. This is how they lubricate the back of the tranny, the tail housing bushing. 4-wheel drives, you put the seal in. You notice there's no fluid in here because there's a seal in the transfer case. This is a dry area. So if you get fluid in here, let's see if they put a weep hole in here for it to escape. They did right here. See, that's basically, if this seal leaks or the transfer case seal leaks, it'll come out that weep hole right there and give you a sign and drip on the ground.
Some people need a big sign.
Need a sign sometimes. Now remember, 178,000 miles on this thing, and it had no signs of ever being out. When I took this thing out, it looked like none of the bolts had been touched. Everything was still there. But you never know till you start looking at bolts and stuff. So fluid don't look real bad, but he changes this stuff really regularly. He's had multiple kinds of fluid in it. If you look here, this is the identification right here. It's called a JMBX. That identifies it. You come over here and look at B&I's torque converter, their heavy duty one. JMBX HD, heavy duty. That's how they identify them. Of course, if you look here too, this is what's neat about it. Those stock cheap torque converter, the pads are welded on. See that there? They're bad about cracking, leaking, lugs completely falling off. And then you get over here to a B&I with a billet backing. The pads are physically made on there. All billet in the back. Heavy duty cover. That's why it's a must to put a converter in these every time you rebuild them. But I get a lot of people ask me, Richard, can I just put a torque converter in there? Not likely. It might get you a little ways down the road, but normally what causes converter failure too is pressure regulator valve area, stuff like that. You know, high pressure, low pressure, cracks the pistons, stuff like that. So now I did notice this tranny here, when I took the vent hose off, it had fluid come out of this hose right here that goes to the vent for the tranny. So you can't see it as much there, drained off, but when I pulled it out, physically fluid come out of the hole there.
So what does that mean?
Once they start venting fluid, then this tranny is getting severely hot. So I can get that hose off there. Internal leaks where there's not supposed to be pressure. There it goes. This hose was actually swelled a little bit here. When I pulled the rest of the vent tube off, it just fell off almost in my hand. If it wasn't for the bracketry, the hose would have fell off on its own. So we'll probably have to replace this hose here anyway to get it tighter on the little Y fitting they have right here, the little plastic Y fitting. I wanted to, let me see if I can find my flashlight real quick. I wanted to look at them bell housing bolts and see if they look like they've had a socket on them before. I'm going to have to put my glasses on. I hate glasses, but I have to look at them sometimes. No, it doesn't really look like there's been a socket on them or anything. An impact will put dents in it, marks on it, where they're torqued. When these bell housings are torqued, they're probably, these bolts are all torqued at one time by a machine. Just comes down on and torques all the bell housing bolts all at one time. So they're not a hammer type. They're a slow torque and stop. Where an impact, you'd see the beating on the bolts, on the heads on the bolts here, if this bell housing was taken off with an impact or something like that. So it doesn't look like that's happened. Now what I liked about this too was, he's a smart man. These pans have magnets in them, but if you want to come and just stick a magnet on that pan, I have an old 4L60E pan or anything like that, just put one here, put one here, put one here. It'll still grab the metal on the inside. Check this out. Well, I thought I had my tin over here. Let me go grab it real quick. I got all my tools on the lift from pulling the unit out. Where did it go? There it is. There's not anything in the pan on this. You can kind of see some black stuff there, but see where he had his magnet at, what it did? Just by putting a magnet on the outside, it collected metal around that magnet there. So if you put one over here on the outside, it collect metal right there. Or right there, wherever you put the magnet on the outside. So that tells you don't have to pull the pan to put a magnet in the pan to make it do the exact same thing. Now our overhaul kits come with new magnets, so we keep all our magnets, but like I said, you could just take and pop another one, glue it on there with some 3M or something, it's nothing else. The next thing you know, you're going to have metal collecting right there. But that's pretty neat how he did that right there. Man, them old magnets are nasty. Look at them gloves already. Nasty, nasty. Like I said, I believe he serviced this before he left. But he's had multiple types of fluid in this tranny. The fluid looks like. You can see the filter's pretty dirty. If you take and look at that filter, and then you grab a new one, you can see how pretty yellow the difference in the two. Now, anytime we do these units and the customer's out of town or even in town, we always give the customer a new filter when he leaves. That way he can service it. We'll have the right filter. All he has to do is supply the fluid to do a service on the unit when it gets to 3,000 or 4,000 miles, depending on whatever we recommend for him to service it at. So that helps out a bunch right there. And it kind of makes them think about it all the time. Well, I got this filter, I need to get this done. I got this filter, I need to get this done, huh, Teresa? Instead of them just forgetting about it. Real easy to forget about. So what we're going to do now is we're going to unhook the connector, the plug right here for the computer to plug in. We're going to push this right here. We're just going to lift it up. We're going to take a little rubber hammer right here, just kind of tap on it, free it up a little bit. And I like to grab a pair of pliers and just grab it and just slowly pull it out. There you go. Real simple. And just remember on this here, you have a square seal on the end, and then you have two round ones. You have a round one here, and another round one here. But the square one goes on the end. Remember that. Okay. Now this is notched too, where it'll only go in one way into the valve body, right there. When you put the connector on the tranny, it goes on, and then you turn it to lock it. You can see here where it rides this trail right here and screws it in, kind of the plug, and locks it, and then you push the lock in. Pretty simple. Try to take this off with electric, be a little quieter. Going to take off our detent spring here. This is what you feel going click, click, click in the dash, click, 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 click. It runs over here. If you got a four-wheel drive, this is actually a pretty thick one here, but you can take one of these and cut it off and double it up and make your clicks a little harder if you're out on the trail bouncing around a lot. That way the shifter don't jump out of gear or into a different gear. You can just put another one here and just cut the wheel off of it. Makes it a little stronger. Pretty neat. And you got this lock here. You move it sideways, just like that. And you'll take and push on that little lever right there. There we go. Pull it off. Now if you notice here, it's got a little piece here that locks on the valve body that keeps the wiring out of the way, like that. Then it's got another one right here on the valve body. So you got two places that lock that wire right there in that area. And you have your park, reverse, neutral switch right there. Backup lights, all that type of stuff, work through that. If you notice here, the valve body bolts that hold the valve body to the case, they're a totally different looking end on them. This is a 5-star or 6-star right there. This has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 too, but just a totally different bolt, and of course it takes a totally different socket. When you take this off, if you notice, this is locked into that right there. You want to take that and put that back in there when you put it back together. That way it moves in and out. Don't see these go bad very often. Just want to put it in a safe place. That way you don't break the end of this off or break this off. So you always want to keep it in a safe place after you get done taking it off. Then you're going to take your special socket right here and you're going to go find your bolts. I don't have my glasses on to see. Is that all? Is there one more? See, that's what happens when you have to wear contacts and glasses, huh? One there. One there. You'd think the lighting would be better in here. One there, one there, one there.
Kind of shiny.
It does. It kind of gives a reflection back at it, huh? But that looks like that's all of it. Yeah. Now these bolts, all of them that hold the valve body to the case, all have that type of head on the bolt, so just remember that. You do have different length bolts here too, so you want to watch that. Take our 10 millimeters here. Let's go ahead and just take it off first. Get out of there. Get that way. What I'm going to do is pull these out here first. These are the seals that physically seal the valve body to the case. They set in here like this. There's 4 right here too. Anytime we pull the valve body off to do any type of repair, we always replace these no matter what. These right here get smashed down really bad and then start leaking. So you don't want that to happen at all. Comes in your overhaul kit. We'll unhook the speed sensors from the valve body. But I did. There's a little lock. No, it's not there. Push that in and pull it out. There you go. I don't ever take these off. There was no codes for them or anything, so you don't have to worry about that. Now we're going to take all the 7s loose first that hold the solenoid pack, the valve body. And then we're going to grab the 10. And then we're going to grab the 8. These bolts here on the side, these two here are 8 millimeters. And what these do, these two bolts pull the valve body, or the computer, the Tecum and stuff, over to the valve body. That way it goes down flush this way. You don't want to tighten these down and then try to tighten this down, because you can break it like this. I just pull these up, just knot them snug, just where it feels good, and then I'll torque all this down. These will be the last 2 bolts that I torque on the whole valve body assembly. These are 8 millimeters. These are 7. These are the only 2 bolts that's a little bit longer when you pull these bolts out right here. Put them over in a pile, kind of keep them by themselves if you want to. Don't see really any metal on the screens. Your overhaul kit will come with a new screen system here. A lot of times you get metal in here and it blows through the screens. So really clean there. Everything looks really good in there. The Transgo kit does come with new seals and little pads that go down in here for these little micro switches. These actually click. A lot of times the seals blowed out the side. These are tore. Now this is programmable to the vehicle. If you disconnect the battery, it's not going to bother it, but you cannot take this one and put it to another vehicle. You'll have to have it flashed. Teresa's going to do the next tear down, I think. Doesn't that sound good, babe? Put these bolts over here by themselves too if you want. Just keep them separated, make it a lot easier on you. Now you see this valve right here? Your manual valve? It's got this funny end on it like that. It will not go in like that. So just be careful, don't try to force it. It only goes in one way. Just like that, and then you're neutral safe. Your park reverse lever slides in there and moves back and forth with it. So just take it off there where you don't break it, bend it. These bolts are all the same length. I'll put them in a pile too if you want to. Keep them out of the way. Pretty clean considering the mileage on it. But that's what's good about this gentleman servicing it. So that tells you when you service a tranny regular, what the pan looks like, what the tranny looks like on the inside, how much cleaner everything just stays. So we got a lot of valve train in here that we're going to be replacing. Our Transgo valves, Sonex valves. Now this little plate right here, I'm going to find this one little hole to show you that you always want to check this hole on all these units here to make sure the hole hasn't been beaten shut. And a lot of times you can see with a tool, I actually beat the hole shut. And that's why you want to drill it out. Yep, I just filled it full of fluid again. Can you see that hole right there, Teresa? That little tiny hole?
Yes.
Do you see how the tooling that made that hole almost beat the hole shut? You can see the dents around the hole right there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that hole right there, if you get it knocked, if it's too small, I'm not familiar what code it sets. I'd have to look it up, but that's a real common problem right there. So you always want to go back. I drill it out about 20 thousandths, 25 thousandths, just enough to clean the hole up. You don't want to make it really much larger or anything. So. And then, of course, on this unit here, being it's a 2015, it's going to have the 8th check ball. If you look here, 2010 is about when they start adding this check ball right here. The ones below that will not have that check ball right there. You'll only have your 7 check balls. But 2010 and up, you'll have that check ball. Of course, a lot of Sonex parts are going to go in here. Your plugs leak really bad. Sonex, the zip kit comes with all those parts there. So I just love these trannies here. These are really fun to do. I actually like doing these better than the 4L60Es and stuff. They're so much easier to me to get out, for one. So, Patricia, we got some air checking to do real quick. We're just going to go ahead and kind of clean this fluid out of these holes real quick. There we go. Okay, come over here, Tracy, so you can see.
Yeah, right.
We have our 1, 2, 3, 4 clutch circuit right here. We can air check it. See how nice that held up? Listen, solid, let go of it. That's a really nice tight fit right there through the sealing rings and pistons and stuff. That's our 1, 2, 3, 4 clutch. Our 3rd, 5th, and reverse clutch is right here. Here, a small leak, but on that one there, we do have a small bleed orifice in the drum that can cause that air leak right there, okay? Now our 4, 5, 6 clutch, you're gonna push in this hole right here. Get it on there. 4, 5, 6 clutch, look at that. That thing held tight. Get it on there, good. Look at that, solid, still holding it. Look at that. So the 4, 5, 6 clutch circuitry is really nice and tight. Okay, now we're going to get down here and we're going to check the 2, 6 clutch. See if that'll get on it. It might not fit down in there. Try this tip here. See, that hits good. Now this clutch here does have a bleed orifice. This here's your low reverse clutch here. Now you are going to get a crossover leak from this clutch to this piston. If you notice, air was coming out of there. Now this is your lube circuit here. You're going to hear air going down through the bore. And then you got your low reverse clutch small piston. Now, it's not going to leak over into the big clutch circuit. It's just going to leak out the back of the little orifice hole. I'll show you later. So, everything air checks pretty decent, but that don't mean the clutch clearances are where they're supposed to be. It could be really off there. Okay. Well, let's get this bell housing off there real quick. We'll use air on it, since it's electric, don't like to take it off, take the bolts out. Sorry if it was loud. I love to hear that sound though sometimes, guys. You got to admit, air sounds really good. First you got all your bell housing bolts you can just kind of throw in there. We have our lockup O-ring right here. Yeah, see, it's squared out. It's not even round no more. It's flat all the way on the edge here. Like I said, this tranny here had converter problems. I don't think it so much had clutch pack issues and stuff like that. I think we have pump wear probably, and we have converter wear, and I think that's where the problems is going to be at. Well, I'm going to get to show you something really neat though. Okay guys, look at this here. Gotta find it again. This is that little weep hole I was talking about, where I was talking about that one circuit was leaking off a little bit. You can see it right there. Now these drums are bad about cracking, don't get me wrong. When I build this back, or check everything, I'm gonna check for a crack around here. Kind of hard to do it, but I have a tool right here that if you look here, it tells you everything here. Your 1, 2, 3, 4 clutch, you know, your third, fifth, and reverse clutch, your other circuitries. And what I can do is set this in this drum and I can air check it. But what we're going to do first is we're just going to show you the travel of the clutches and kind of what it looks like. Now we have this hole here is going to activate the bottom clutch down here. If you watch this, see that? No leak. If I go to the next one up, which is your third, fifth, and reverse clutch, you hear that leak? That's that little weep hole I'm talking about, or the drum's cracked. See? Now what I do when I bolt a little plate right here and I put my dial caliper on here like this, and then I air check all my stuff that way I know exactly where it's setting at on these clutch packs. Snap rings are different thicknesses. You can get multiple different thicknesses of your snap rings to take up the clearances. But let me tell you guys, on this tranny here, it likes loose clearances. You don't want to tighten the clutch packs up on this unit here. Let the tranny do some learning and straighten it up that way. That way you don't have any problems. Okay, I've just learned, and a lot of people have learned, these trannies do not like tight clutch clearances. But what we can do, we can take and wipe that off. We can take this piece right here. This was a really good tool that I bought. Put a little oil on it. You're going to set it down in there like that, and you're going to take your, they want you to bolt it in. Let's go ahead and kind of put a bolt on behind it. Let's be safe about things, I guess. Kind of tighten it down. And basically what I'm doing is I can check my clutches that way too, but I can look and see if we have a crack around here, because you know you're going to have a leak out of this third, fifth, and reverse little weep hole right there. See that? See that leak? But if you want to check it all, put some fluid all the way around that crack, and then you're going to come in here and you're going to check that again. I see no crack. All I see is the leak out the weep hole. I'm going to go to this one here. Nice and tight, so that tells me that circuitry is good. We have no cracks, so we have a good drum here. Take this little piece back off. Nice little tool. You can get them on the internet. I'm not sure where I bought it from, what company or anything, but and just kind of put it back together and put it up, clean it up. So once I get my drum built back, I'll test it again, make sure everything's nice and solid. Now if you notice here on this snap ring though, on this one lug right here, there's no groove for the snap ring. If you put that snap ring over that lug right there like this, look at that, the snap ring won't go in the groove because it's holding it all out right there. So you have to find that lug and put the opening of the snap ring in between there, like that. Okay, like I said, they do make selective snap rings to set these clutch clearances, but you do not want to set them tight. Same way with this snap ring here, if you notice, it's a totally different lug. You notice that the groove's in this lug here, but you have to turn it around and find it. There, it's not there, it's down here, see? So the snap ring will never go in there. But if you look at this one, same way, no place for the snap ring to go. So you have to put the opening of the snap ring in there. You have to. If you put it like that, look what the snap ring looks like. And the first time you air check it, it's going to pop the snap ring right out. Something's going to happen. So you just got to remember that too. That's a must. Snap ring is selective again. They make different thicknesses of these. Clutches all look good in this drum here. I didn't check the clearance to know if we have wear or anything like that. So when I go back with my new clutches and steels, I'll check it and set it up to the correct clutch clearance. Now here we have our planetary, our sun gear. You want to look for any wear on the sun gear. Looks good. Planetary, any wobbling, any load going back and forth. Make sure your washers are good and snug there. Don't want a lot of play there. Planet looks really nice. Now down in here you're going to have a thrust washer and a bearing. Got to remember, a lot of these bearings have lips on them, and it matters which direction they go. So you got to want to check all that. You have a 4-tab washer that goes on your planet. Like that. And why that's like that is because that bearing sets up inside that gear a little bit. See that? If you put it that way, this piece here is going to set down here and break it all apart. The time you bolt the pump down, it won't bolt down. You'll lock the tranny down trying to do that. Okay, we have our 456 clutch hub here. Looks good. Don't look bad. Have a bearing here. Just remember, these bearings all go a certain direction, guys. If you notice, this little 3-tab bearing has 3 fingers sticking up on it. You do not want to put the fingers down. They go up. So just remember all that type of stuff. I did notice, even though, you remember we checked our 456 clutch through the pump, all through everything, it was tight as a drum, no leak at all. Boom, hit it. I could have waited and watched TV and ate a bowl of popcorn, and that thing was still going to hold pressure. But if you come in here and look at the drum, look how burned up that clutch is. It discolored the drum. Turned it purple. Look at that. Look how much, even though it air checked good, look at the clutch clearance. Watch this. Look at that. And that's the computer done all it could to correct it. There's no more, it's way out of its limits. So once it gets that way, this tranny will go and go and go until physically something happens. Piston cracks, it gets out of its limits and stuff, because this tranny works really well. You can look at this clutch here. It physically has no clutch material on it at all. None. It's plumbed down to the metal. You know, it has to be the fluids too, because normally this clutch pack probably would have been burnt up by now, being that thin and that much clearance. Because there's physically no clutch material on there. I think there's a little on the bottom one there. Yeah, a little bit on, nothing on that side, a little on that. So everything in the middle is gone. Of course, you have your wave. Make sure that looks nice. So some new clutches, some new steels. Check your clearances on that drum. Put some new pistons and stuff in here. New bushing. Don't forget this bushing right here. Of course, your new cylinder rings here. Now you can air check this drum through these holes here. You can plug that hole right there with your finger and air check it with your air blower and check it the same way. That's lube. See that lube? It's coming out of the center to lubricate that bushing. But if I blow in this hole, it's going to push that piston up, and I don't want to do that right now because I don't have no clutch pack in there. It'll blow it all out, and then I might have problems getting the snap ring and stuff out. I don't want to mess up anything. Shaft looks really good, so really excited there. got this real funny little bearing right here. That's about the funniest looking bearing I've ever seen. It runs on this race right here. Yep, I have a Sonex bearing kit over there that has all these new bearings in here. So this piece right here does come apart. You notice there's a snap ring in here. You can take this little snap ring out. You want to clean all the metal out of there. You have a little clutch right here too. And it looks like a little clutch right here. You just want to make sure it's existing. Looks really good. You'll have to take and pop this off because it kind of pops on there. This race does. And then the new one will pop on too. Check for any wear. Anywhere a bushing runs, you want to check it for any wear. Of course, you have another bearing here. Has a funny bottom on it. Remember that. All my bushing drivers are stepped. In other words, the bushings set below the surface. So that means that lip can set down in there, not set on the bushing. So all my bushing drivers are stepped. Gotta remember that. I think we have somebody pulling up, actually. Yep. Yeah, we're getting close. All the bushings need to be replaced. You can see this one here has grooves in it. This top one has dimples. Just to make sure you put your bushings in the right spot, guys. No bushings on that one. Hello. You want to stop real quick? We'll stop here just for a second. We had a customer come in to drop off a rear end. So this is probably going to be video 2 of 2. But anyway, y'all have a great day. See you shortly.